What's up, Connection? And welcome inside the Wrestling Warzone, a Monday Wars podcast retrospective series. I am JT, and joining me as on this journey is Chad. And of course, this podcast, you can find it a few different places. It's audio form on all podcast apps, except for those cowards over at Spotify and under the North South Connection Podcast Network. On video here on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, North South Connection, as well as our absolutely free Patreon, Wrestling Warzone. If you just go there, go to Patreon, search Wrestling Warzone, it'll come up. It is completely free. Here's the website there. You can subscribe, you get updates. One of the cool things is we share the link when we're about to record, so we can have fans pop in and ask questions or comment as the show goes. We'll read those comments on air and as we go. And then also you may get some kind of bonus contents here and there as well when we get some free time. But again, it's absolutely free. So if you subscribe, it's more to alert you when the new episodes are coming and join us to record. So, Chad, how are you doing tonight?
If life were fair, we'd have the two best NFL teams going, but you see how that's going.
If life were fair, I wouldn't have to see Grooney's name down there.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's a big night here. I'm going to pull this down so we don't get banned. But it's a big night on the Warzone. We have... Is it playing? It's playing. All right. Well, this is WWE 1997, so there's always going to be technical issues, of course. But it is a big night for us here inside the Warzone. It is pay-per-view night, and it's a big one. WWE SummerSlam 1997. I think we talked about it in the build. Like, there's a chance this is their biggest pay-per-view in a long, long time. Like, I think there's been ones with other stakes to it. We talked about like WrestleMania 13, had some importance around it. WrestleMania 12, kind of crowning Shawn. Survivor Series 96, the return of Bret, to take on Austin and kind of kick off that rivalry. Sid win the so there's been like important ones for them, but this feels like a real stake in the ground. Like this is the hottest the promotion has been in a few years now. They're in the thrust of the Monday Night Wars. They're trying to hang in. They've revamped their entire presentation. A whole different group of wrestlers have been spotlighted throughout the summer coming into the show. And it's really, and this I know we definitely talked about last episode, it's the show that's had the most consistent build with the least amount of change going into it, right? So we have, all the big matches is set. Like all the stories have been told really since like King of the Ring with the Canadian Stampede kind of in the middle. We haven't had guys leave, quit, get fired, get hurt. So this is the first major show for them in a while where there hasn't been at least in 1997 probably, where there hasn't been radical changes throughout, right? Like the Rumble was kind of the Rumble. Final Four obviously got all screwed up. Mania got screwed up. King of the Ring got screwed up. So everything that they were building toward at those big shows was jumbled in the weeks leading up to it. But they've really put a lot of time and effort into building the show. We have some big time matches. And the hype, I think, is in place for them to really have to deliver. I think if this show missed, I do think it would have been a potential setback for them. It's kind of like, all right, I guess they're not really ready to compete just yet, even though TV's been better. So I think they really had to knock this one out of the park.
Yeah, I think all you said about the build is true. And then historically, it's an interesting show to look back on because it really does feel like a bridge show between the Attitude Era that you have after that, like even the seminal shows after this, like WrestleMania 14 or SummerSlam, Highway to Hell. They're by then you're pretty deeply embedded into the Attitude Era. This still has some touches of like that new generation presentation. But
the logo, just look at the logo alone,
Yeah. So this is really feels like that kind of jumping off point, almost even more than like the submission match or whatever at WrestleMania 13.
Agreed. All right, so SummerSlam 1997, August 3rd. Of course, 97 was a weird year where they had everything early, which we're kind of back to these days, I guess. But at the time, it was very different. It was always like the third or fourth week of the month, and that was it. So in 97, they shift everything early. I don't know if it was to get away from WCW or just kind of the way the dates worked out for pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting they could have done because, I mean, Road Wild is the next week. So, I mean, August, like just looking out from the calendar, you'd have thought August 17th or August 24th would have been when they would have landed. But no, I mean, for whatever.
I mean, even just a couple of years ago, like 94, they were still on Mondays and it would be like
Yeah, I
right before
think
we went back to
94 is
school and
like the
stuff.
28th or something
Yeah.
like that.
So it was always
Yeah.
very late. So this was definitely like weird, like having all these early in the month for a year, but then they go right back in '98. It's like kind of the one year they do it.
Yeah.
We're in the Continental Airlines Arena, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Which, funny enough, of course, was where SummerSlam was this year. 20,213 in attendance, 235,000 buys, and of course Vince McMahon, Jerry the King Lawler, Jim Ross on commentary. But the interesting thing for New Jersey was that, of course, they hadn't been in New Jersey for wrestling in a long time because they had levied some different sports or entertainment, whatever it was, sports taxes on them. And then the governor, who we'll get to know a little bit later, Christine Todd Whitman, who, like, it's one of my favorite trivia things. Like, I think we talked about this maybe too. Like, only wrestling fans, like maybe residents in New Jersey, but besides that, only WWF fans of the '90s would know the name Christine Todd Whitman, probably, if it ever came up like in a history trivia contest or something.
Yeah, it's the tax itself. I actually did a little research on it. It feels pretty similar to some of the taxes that were levied in like Washington and stuff like that. Now that also carried the like commission in addition. So like
Mhm.
Oregon had
Yeah,
that
Oregon. Yeah,
commission situation, and then uh so up in the Pacific Northwest was a little different, but yeah, it was she leaned against the basically cut that. I mean, it was almost called like the wrestling tax. They called it
yeah,
like
because they said, oh, it's really sports entertainment, not
yeah,
sports.
sports entertainment tax. Yeah, so
And so
I don't know what else it would have affected around this time. So
right. So this is the first major show in New Jersey in forever. I mean, the first pay-per-view since SummerSlam '89, right? Uh,
yeah,
I don't know how like late they were there for a house show or TV or anything, but it's definitely been a minute if you want to check it
right.
out. Grooney lets us know the earliest WrestleMania was 20 on March 14th, 2004. So there you go. Shout out to him. Shout out to Ryan Everett. Jeremy Nichols are with us right now. I'm sure there'll be more popping in as we go. We did start a little bit early, so apologies there. All right. So we open with the national anthem playing in the arena, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I guess we've built so much of this year and this feud around Americana and patriotism. But generally, I feel like they only used to do that either for WrestleMania or if it was like in the middle of a war or something like really
Right.
nationalistic, they would do it, like make a big scene out of it. So like we cold open right to the national anthem, which is just not something we often do.
No.
You have it there before we get to the open?
No, it's gonna take a minute.
Okay. All right. So we do go to a very classic opening video package. We're going to play it because it's one of the all time greats. And this is to me where we start. Like there's been some decent ones in '97, but I think from here until like the end of the invasion, maybe, and even beyond, like they start. This is when they really get into the groove, and they're known for these awesome video packages. But like to me, this over the next couple of years, like I have them all memorized. Like the music, the beats, the voiceover guy, like just everything. They just crush all of them. I love all the canned music they use. I think I all downloaded at one point because they're out there, just production music, but they're so good and just burn into my skull. So as soon as you start this show and you hear that, dun, 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 it's not the Home Alone song or whatever, but it was a classic right out of the gate.
So they did. I mean, they did a ton of house shows at the Meadowlands from SummerSlam '89 to up till like February '97 was the last time they were in that venue.
So maybe it was just televised.
It has to be some like rights fee
Yeah.
tax or something. So that's interesting. That's an interesting
Okay.
wrinkle.
Yeah. So it must be something to do with being televised.
They had Cage Match was 8,700 for the house show in February. So I mean it was definitely sold out, but I mean
Right.
whatever. 16,007. We could say probably around double what they drew in the house show in February.
And they were colder then,
Yeah.
obviously. Ryan, of course, adds in the David Sadi videos are all timers. Yes, they are, sir. And let's get to it right now.
In a perfect world, there would be no villains, no conspicuous manifestations of hate. Athletic excellence would be applauded. Sportsmanship would be the rule. Our heroes would remain heroes forever. If life were fair, then this legend would be lauded in his pursuit of an historic 5th World Wrestling Federation Championship. Instead, he's a fallen idol, America's public enemy #1. the respect abandoned, the legacy bludgeoned and spat upon by a society he feels condones defiance and perpetuates hate. If life were fair, then this mighty champion, this survivor of deception and conqueror of all earthly hells, would surely revel in the championship spotlight. The bright lights wouldn't singe his aura, illuminating a dark, horrifying secret from a distant past. And if life were fair, then this man might still be champion, dancing, flying, showcasing his extraordinary talents to legions of fans. He wouldn't be an athlete betrayed by an unwilling knee, a man surrendering a boyhood dream to search for the lost smile of youth. Is it fair that tonight, even in victory, this champion will be haunted by personal demons whose voices cry out from the dark? Is it fair that tonight this man may rewrite history, yet still incur the wrath of a hostile and unappreciative nation? And is it fair that tonight's special referee is a despised enemy of the challenger? Will vengeance flow ruinous from his biased heart, ensuring that tonight will be the last night Bret Hart ever wrestles in this country again? Life isn't fair, but whoever said it would be.
All-timer. His comments, of course, in the chat, but just how great these were. And it is a special time. Like, they really lock in over the next few years and just crush these.
Yeah. This one's very cinematic and has a lot of narration, but does a good job of weaving you in to get set for the show, for sure.
And it's a loaded card, and they don't touch on anything else but that main event, which is cool. I think it makes it really feel special. Like, I think I was okay with it because it's such a high-stakes match for them. Especially with Sean added in, like, it just adds a lot to it. So, and that voiceover guy is like fantastic. I know he's around for a while, and I think he ends up. Is he the same guy that does TNA later, or no? Is that a different? I don't know. I don't know if he goes with some hottie. I don't know. It's one of these clowns in the chat, may know. Let's go, Everett. Where are you? It's been a while since you've been a trivia champion, but all right. So we come off the video package into the Continental Airlines. The crowd's fired up. Signs are everywhere. The pyro's blasting, and we see the classic blue cage in place for our opener. And I believe this is the last classic blue cage match we see.
Yeah. So a couple things. This is also kind of our first moment for the bridge stuff. I'll mention the pyro. I thought it was pretty bad. It's a minor thing, but it's like, I think the pyro for like Nitro is better, or even Raw. Like, I don't know. It looked a little cheap. But yeah, the blue cage. I don't know if we'll see it again. We'll have to check and see if it rolls out on some random Raw that I don't remember.
Breakdown 98, is that black, that cage? Is that the black cage when it's that might be blue, actually. Shamrock, Rock, and Foley. I know they go to black in 99 for like the Hardys and Edge and Christian.
Vince versus Austin's in the black cage. That's February 99. I don't know. I mean, this blue cage was looking pretty beat up. Like, the paint was definitely, when they did the close-up camera angle from outside in, you could tell like a lot of the blue paint was chipped off. So it's taken a beating since it first debuted, which I mean, did it debut with Bundy Hogan or?
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Because 85, you get Tito and Hammer. They're still in like the fence.
Yeah.
It may be Hogan Bundy or right around then. Breakdown 98 is still blue.
Okay.
But they have the steel grate around the top as well, like that they have on the cells now, on the cages now. So this is like the last true pure blue cage, I think, on a major show. Because then we get the cell coming soon too, and they rely on that a bunch for random stuff.
Right.
So. Right. Yeah. But it did look cool, like especially for SummerSlam. Vince, King, and Ross welcome us in. We get right to our opening match. It is Mankind versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. It looks like we're finally going to get the climax of this feud. It's been probably one of their top feuds of the summer. It's been really going since like May, even before King of the Ring. They started, brawling a bit on TV. Hunter gets in the cage. Ross takes us through their whole feud. Mankind wobbles out, gets a pop. Vince calls him a tormented soul. Ross talks about his hardcore past. Vince tells us that Governor Whitman is here. She will join us live tonight. China assesses the cage walls. Mankind gets in the cage. Ross, of course, goes right to the WWF show at the Meadowlands in 1981, the first ever, and Bruno Sammartino defeated George Steele in a cage. Hunter dives for the door right at the bell, but Mankind grabs his legs and pulls him back in, pancakes him, slugs away, keeps Hunter in the cage anytime he tries to scamper away, grinds him into the steel. Mankind buries a running knee in the corner, lets off a bang bang before sticking a pile driver, as Ross notes that Dude Love is one of the co-holders of the tag team titles. China guards the door, so Mankind hooks the claw instead. China scales the cage and reaches through the bar and chokes Mankind with her belt. Mankind hits a hard lariat, scales the cage, but China meets him again and punches him right in the nuts. Hunter hustles up and hits a superplex with the top of the cage and a great-looking bump. Hunter shoots Mankind hard into the steel, starts to work over the neck with strikes using the cage wall. Hunter makes an escape, but Mankind follows up and slugs away on top of the cage and pulls him back in. Hunter shows Mankind down, makes it over the top of the wall, but Mankind scampers up again and catches him, and this time drags him all over to the mat. He stomps and slugs away, fights through a atomic drop from Hunter, hits a clothesline, but he drops his head, and that leads to a Hunter knee breaker. Mankind blocks a suplex, hoists Hunter into the wall, and hangs him from the cage and barrels into it with a headbutt. Hunter absorbs more strikes, but ducks a charge, flips Mankind into the cage. They end up fighting across the top rope. Mankind tumbles to the mat, leaving Hunter to be crushed on the top rope and then tangled between the ropes. Mankind crawls to the door, but China comes over and crushes him with a vicious door slam in a 6 spot. And Foley's talked about that quite a bit after. Like, one of the worst he's ever been hurt in a match was that cage door off his head. It is brutal. Like, she really swings it. China then runs the ref into the steps, throws a chair to Hunter. Hunter loads the pedigree on the chair, but China's scaling the wall. Mankind scoops Hunter down and slingshots him into China. She crashes to the floor. Mankind sticks a double arm DDT on the chair, scales the cage, and heads to escape. China's trying to wake up Hunter, but he's dead. Right before Foley hits the floor, he stops, takes off his mask, and climbs back up. Ross says the crowd is chanting Superfly, which was hard to hear, and likely just said,
I don't know. Nobody was chanting. There was not one person chanting.
That was a pure Ross hyperbole moment. And then we get another one where Mankind rips his shirt open, and you're supposed to have the Dude Love heart, but it's all faded from the sweat. So that's another classic Foley. I think he built it up in his head to be more than it was going to be. He buries a big elbow and then escapes off the top for the win as China's trying to drag out Hunter. Good little touch. Mankind's announced a winner. He's laying dead on the floor. And then they play Dude Love's music, and he taps his foot, and he wakes and struts off. This was a fun match. It was a good close to the feud. Both guys have been elevated. Like, they've really worked hard through determination and brawling, and I think they're both in a much better place than they were in May. China was great here, too. We've been a big fan of her so far, like her work with Hunter, but this was seamless. This was like, I don't want to elevate it that high yet, but like Savage Sherry 89 level of like teamwork in and out of the ring. Like, she's kind of seamlessly in. You know, all the spots she had to be, she was there, gets knocked down off the cage, back in the cage. So like, she's all over the place trying to help him. The finish worked well. I thought Mankind gets to win. He's going to kind of fade off now for a bit, so Dude Love can get his run. And Hunter and China got things ahead too. Like, this is also, you mentioned like the end of like New Gen. This is kind of the end of the Aristocrat gimmick too for Hunter. Like, he's kind of been a hybrid for a little bit, but this is like really the final weeks of him being the Greenwich Blue Blood, Hunter S. Helmsley, right? Like, that's gone in the next couple of weeks. Some of the small touches I think got a bit lost. The Superfly chant, the faded heart. But the point was we have a full character transition. It was hard hitting. They used the cage well, I thought, too. Some big bumps. They kept it straightforward, though. No gratuitous weapons or nonsense. And then they get to the Superfly payoff as well. So in 3 3/4, I liked it a decent amount. I think it's a good showing for Hunter. I think he does, his part well. And I think it is time for them to slide apart now for a bit and move on. Let Foley transition off to Dude Love, see what they can build out of that, and go from there.
So I went 4 stars. I've enjoyed this feud a lot. I thought this was another good chapter in it. I think the main thing that I like about it is again that finally Hunter is married with an opponent that can match his intensity, but also Foley's able to bump to really emphasize the stuff with China. I thought China was interesting because like her presence and her like, I guess, stature in this match was like 10 out of 10. And we hadn't really seen her sell anything yet. So it really, like, the crowd really reacted favorably to the slingshot spot. Her positioning and kind of her instincts are still a little shaky. As far as like, even on that spot, she like climbed up too early. So she was just like hanging out there for 10 seconds or whatever. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, escape the cage rules is never generally my favorite, but they didn't bog the match down.
No.
Especially Hunter on top could have really emphasized like him trying to escape and it just derailing the flow of the match. So you did get that here. And it really built to a few like memorable spots and all those delivered. I think the superplex in particular looked and sounded really nasty. And we might need to add a column on our spreadsheet for when Jim Ross says a spot's like a car accident, because I got a feeling that may happen every show coming up. But it did. That was like a 6 spot, and then the door slamming spot was great. The slingshot spot was great, and then we did. Even though like nobody was chanting Superfly, so I think that was a little meta for the crowd. I did think the reaction when they realized like Foley was going back up to the top was good.
Yeah.
Him throwing the mask off, I thought was a nice touch too. And the elbow drop looked pretty nasty because it is a big guy. So yeah, overall, really good opener. No blood, but pretty violent for like a no blood match. Kind of akin to me of War Games '94.
Mhm.
Also doesn't have any blood. So
Probably the best
very
opener
effective.
in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like as far as these like escape the cage rules WWF matches, I like a lot of the Hogan ones, but this is up there. And
I think 10. I think Bret and Owen maybe their last
yeah, I mean, I was gonna
match is
say
good that opened the
I'm
show.
pretty low on that, so I actually would rate this higher than that match, but I know that's pretty polarizing.
Yeah, we're not gonna go down that fucking rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're Scott Keith and argue.
That's
What I like too is I think it would have been easy for them and a bit lazy to just have like Foley climb back up, hit the elbow, but then Hunter win. Like so Foley gets the moment, but Hunter gets the win because they protected Hunter a lot that way, like
yeah.
this year. So I'm glad they didn't. Like Foley
Well,
needed to win this match. But
and
like,
that really would have made Foley look like a doofus too.
yeah.
So that was a good
But they could have done it. Like they could have done it.
I
Like,
mean, they could have done it if China would have drug him out.
right, he hits the elbow, China comes
power
in, and
China. Yeah, I mean, I would have been shocked, but yeah, I agree. Like the way the feud is went, like Foley needed to win here. It's kind of like a hometown crowd for him or whatever, which is always
this whole thing with Austin and Do Love. So
right. So it was good, very good opener.
Everett says he thinks the blue, and I remember this now too. He said the blue cage is an Dick Ebersol suggestion for TV. So
I mean, it does like definitely Hogan Bundy pops on the screen just the way it looks. But yeah, they probably could have gave it a nice little paint job for this match because, like I said, it was looking. I don't know what production truck had been rolling around in, but a lot of
with Bret back to Bret and Owen. Was that the last cage match they've had on pay per view? It might have been.
Yeah, I can't recall one right off. What though? Bret Diesel.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Early '96. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Still, it's been a while since they've had one. All right, Todd Pentgill's here. It's been a minute, and this honestly may be one of his last.
Yeah,
if not his last appearance, right?
I think he does like voiceover work for the Patriot heading into Ground Zero, but as far as on-screen appearances, I think this is it for Todd. So another bridge.
Wow. Yep. Yeah, because Cole's, we saw his debut. So
Yep.
No, man, I'm not ready for this.
KK coming. Yep. So they got the new guns out with Pentgill.
I mean, who would have thought when he debuted he'd last like almost 5 years? Like that's a good run he had.
Yeah, he had a good run, and I think. I mean, I don't know. It's always tough because again, this is kind of like my childhood, so stuff retains more in that era. But like him and like Mooney, like you just seem to remember them more. Mm-hmm. But again, that just may be like it was my childhood thing. But.
And they had about the same run, right? Because I think Mooney's 88 to 93. So I mean, I think if you would have guessed, you would say, "Oh, Mooney was a lot longer than Todd." But they're close in run to each other.
Yeah. Yep.
That's definitely longer than Craig DeGeorge. So he's here. He's out on the platform. He brings out the woman who brought New Jersey back to prominence and the WWF back to New Jersey. And that is the one and only iconic Governor, Christine Todd Whitman. out she comes with Gorilla Monsoon and the Headbangers.
Yeah, of all people, like who decided the head? I mean, I don't know who they could have gotten, but I would throw up anybody but the head. And honestly, from her side of things, like from her PR or whatever, like who greenlighted
I think
her
they
to
had
roll out
Headbangers
with these
doing some.
slobs?
I think they had them doing some media. I don't know if they thought they would like cross over okay, but like they were doing like some Weather Channel stuff and different things like that.
Yeah,
Like,
they every time they show like the before the event hype video, they're always like in the crowd and stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah. I don't know. They looked at them as kind of like I don't know
the
connectors.
cheerleaders, but
Yes, yeah, like yeah. I don't know who else. I mean, all your top faces right now are like not really gonna come out with her.
yeah,
Like Goldust, Austin, Taker. Like none of them are gonna come out with her.
yeah, it is difficult. But I might just had her came out with Gorilla. I think it's still that.
It's such a weird cross section of the eras again. It's like you got Todd, who's like new gen. You got Gorilla, who's like old, and then you get the
Yep.
Headbangers that are new. You got this Governor with her, cropped hair.
Right.
So Vince hypes up everything she did to get wrestling back to New Jersey. The crowd's a little bit mixed. Todd thanks her for eliminating the taxes and getting. So it's funny because he doesn't say TV. He just says wrestling back in New Jersey for the first time in 8 years. Christine says they're ready to rumble in New Jersey. Thanks to her partner Paul DiGaetano for helping put a body slam on the wrestling tax. Then we get a graphic that says Christine the Tax Crusher Whitman under her name. She says Headbangers are Jersey's best. So maybe that's why they're there. They're from Jersey. I think they are.
Okay.
So that would make sense, I guess. Gorilla says Christine is the true people's champion. They want to make her an honorary WWF champion. They give her a belt. That gets boos. Christine holds the belt up high. Todd asks if she wants to have a cage match. And she says, I'll take the title seriously and defend it against anyone who wants it. So this is clearly over the top. But I think, CT Dub here probably deserved it, like for getting them back. And I guess she, deserved the moment. I'm sure it's part of the deal. Like, give me some FaceTime or whatever. And they had to do something while they were taking the cage down anyway. So, like, it's as good as anything to roll out there and give her a little moment in the sun for a few minutes. Now, anything political, it wasn't as charged back in 97 as it is now, obviously. But, like, you get your booze. So, whatever. You just had to kind of live with it. There's going to be people that make part of her.
I think it's just interesting where we're at now, like in modern day with all the bidding and all that, like how far we came, because this is really like, oh, she just reduced the tax and now we're able to run the arena and have a pay-per-view there. So they like rushed there to get there. And now, the millions of dollars or whatever that are bid upon to even towns like whatever happened with New Orleans and
Right.
Saudi Arabia. It's like, all right, well, we'll give you a money in the bank. It's like, okay, thanks. So
It's come a long way from
it's definitely changed. The landscape has changed on how they handle who's bidding for these big events, what type of revenue they're getting up front to hold these big events and stuff like that.
They probably weren't getting much then. They were probably just trying not to lose money.
I honestly don't know if they were getting anything.
I don't think they were getting paid. Yeah, no, I think they were just trying not to get
running it. Yeah.
Right. The tax, it had to be something with the TV, and not because of TV. Maybe it's because, like, if you had over a certain gate, you had to pay a tax. So maybe like a house show, they're like, we're not going to touch the gate on the merch and everything else.
It could be like a 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know.
Well, Christine the Tax Crusher Whitman on the scene. Big win. We get reset by Vince, Ross, and King. They remind us tomorrow Raw moves to his new time at 9 p.m. So keep that in mind. Jim Ross notes that if Brian Pillman loses tonight, he'll be wearing a dress on that show. We then see Tiger Ali Singh and Tiger Jeet Singh in the crowd. Vince says we saw Tiger. We'll see him in WWF action soon. We then get some various highlights from a SummerSlam tailgate party they had earlier today with various stars showed up. And we saw Tiger, was he in that Kuwait tournament or whatever? I think he hasn't really been on TV much yet.
Wasn't he at the South Africa Raw?
Yeah, it was one of those two. Like he was in the Kuwaiti Cup, I think.
Okay.
Well, I think he was part of that before.
I know I mentioned it here, and it's even more sure now that I've actually sadly been watching a lot of Tiger Jeet Singh this year because I'm in the 80s New Japan where he's going back and forth, and I mean he sucks. Ali's even less charismatic than him, so I don't see what anybody thought and from like the American side of things. Like I mean, I guess it was a global play, but
Well, because don't
I
they
don't
say
know.
they're from Canada or whatever? So I think they were trying to tie into that too.
I mean, right now they need to. I don't know, but
Well, we
I
know they're
can't.
throwing anything at the wall. They're blue, like
Yeah,
second generation guys, Mexican guys, like whatever they can find, they're throwing at the wall to see what they can get. But all right, to the ring we go. Goldust taking on Brian Pillman. Goldust saunters out with Marlena for our first of our Hart Foundation stip matches. We get clips from Pillman's attack last Monday, followed by Pillman stalking to the ring. We get some comments from Pillman earlier. He says Marlena is longing to have him in her dress, but he's not that easy. He wants to be wined and dined. Goldust is helping Marlena leave the ring, so Pillman attacks from behind, claws and chops away. Goldust rallies with an elbow, gets some punches, kisses him on the mouth, throws him to the floor. Pillman is covered in gold paint. Heads back in. Pillman goes to the eyes. He hammers and chops away. Ross says Mankind, Hunter, and China are on the superstar line. Pillman rolls outside, chases Marlena. Goldust cuts him down with a lariat. Back in the ring, Goldust kicks away. Pillman cuts him down, grinds on him. Pillman hits a snap suplex, heads up top. Goldust stops him, throws him onto the top rope, and Pillman flops to the floor. Marlena comes over and blows smoke in his face, but Pillman uses her as a shield and then lands a kick on Goldust to take over. Coming back in, Pillman gets a flying clothesline for two, cranks a chin lock. Goldust tries to rally, but Pillman cuts him down with a clothesline for a near fall. Goldust comes back with a lariat as Vince calls Dakota a spectacular, which is it's up there breathtaking to call a child spectacular. King says she's special and may one day go to a very special school. That was funny. Goldust hammers away into the flip, flop, and fly. Tries a bulldog, but Pillman throws him off, goes to the floor. Goldust botches a sunset flip as he comes back in the ring, and they kind of grapple for a minute. Pillman leans on the ropes for leverage, but Marlena hits him with her purse. He falls back, and Goldust gets the win. Marlena throws the mannequin in the ring, and her and Goldust leave, and Pillman destroys it and rips the dress apart. So a basic brawl, as you expect. I mean, we have not seen a good Goldust match, and since good old Will from Texas was.
I was to say all of them are good according to one person.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and Pillman is not the guy to carry him right now. He cannot do much in there. He's scrapping, and he's just all mannerisms at this point, and in heat and crowd exercising. But he was able to bust out a couple spots, so I'll give him that. Goldust gets to win, so the Hart Foundation is off to a tough start. Anvil's already going to shave that goatee. They already lost. But I thought what was interesting, they talk about the dress stip, but I feel like they don't really talk about the Hart Foundation stips in this match. Like they don't really reference the Hart Foundation that much. It's very separated from the whole story of the night, which you would think they'd be keeping score, tying these together. And it's they don't really mention it at all in this match, other than Pillman's going to wear a dress. So I went 2 1/4 on the match. It's a bit of a plotting brawl, but I found that to be interesting. And also of note is I think this is Pillman's last pay-per-view match. I don't think he wrestles at Ground Zero, and then obviously that's it. So
I thought they wrestled at Ground Zero for some reason, but maybe not.
Oh, actually, yeah. You know what? They do. Of course they do. Yeah, that's what they do. The 30 days.
Marlena has to go slave or whatever they end up calling. Right. Yeah, I went 2.5. This had, I thought, some spirited moments, but then also some weird stuff with a chin lock randomly. It's like a 7-minute match and he throws a chin lock in there as a rest hold. Some shtick with the kissing spot and Pillman chasing everybody around ringside and stuff like that. So it was pretty gimmicky. I thought when they actually got down to the brawling, they both did a good job swinging and throwing the punches. But overall, it was decent, I would say. But it was also in some ways a little sad with the bigger picture because. And again, a little bit of retrospect throws into that because we know what happens to Pillman in a couple months, which is tragic, but really even in the moment, it's think back to 18 months before this where he's, in WCW creating havoc, shows up in ECW, shows up at the first time in WWL.
Yeah, that car really ruined him.
Yeah, I mean, he really feels like he could have been one of the biggest stars in wrestling and was for that very short window. And, here he is second from the bottom of the card, and really probably in the bottom match, either this or the DOA Baruka's match. And it felt like it, like in the way they worked
Mhm.
it and the way it was presented and everything. So that was a little depressing, I would say. But
Well,
overall, it was solid.
to think what this could have been like 3 years ago, like Pillman and
Yeah,
Dustin in late '94 would have been like awesome.
yeah. Because look, I'll look at that actually and see if I would
Well, they have
guess
some
they.
tag stuff, right, with the blondes. Like, don't they?
Yeah, but I'm interested to see if they ever had any.
They had to have fought because wasn't it Dustin and Steamboat against the blondes? Like, wasn't that a big? That was like a big feud, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I want to see 101. Let me look at this. It won't take me
Well,
just
Jenny's
a
here. She said we have a true North South connection going tonight with the Canada and Atlanta. Getting back on.
No, their first singles match was this match,
Wow, that's crazy.
which is crazy. Yeah,
You would have
they
thought
never had a
somewhere through that tag feud, they would have done like
and
one
then
on one on TV.
and right, and the only other televised match they'll have, is the In Your House one.
Yeah.
So they only have 2 singles matches, period. And really, they didn't have a ton of interaction. There's Brian and Dustin, they're teaming up versus Barry and One Man Gang, which is
That's right.
crazy.
Douglas and Steamboat. Thanks, Ryan. Not
Right. And then in early 1994, they team up again. So they weren't even against each other. Like this is the first time on TV they were
wow, that's
against each
crazy.
other.
You would have thought at some point in
Yep.
'93 or something they would.
Well, I was thinking that most of the time, like even when
Yes, they're both faces. Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, even when like the blondes turned heel, I didn't remember them because like Dustin at that time was mainly facing Rude or whatever. So very, very interesting, like random thing, considering they've been like them two in the same promotion. They've almost always been in the same promotion since '91 to current.
Right.
So 6 years. And yep, never a singles match.
All right, we take a look at the Empire State Building. Vince reveals the new attendance record of 20,213 here at the Continental. And then we go back to the ring for some tag team action as the Legion of Doom are taking on the Godwins. The Godwins rumble down with the Dixie flag. Big grudge match. This one's been going since April when they broke Hank's neck. We get a lot of quick clips of the feuds to date, which is, we've been a fan of the feud too. Like, it's been pretty hard hitting. They've had some pretty good attacks back and forth. We hear from LOD earlier today where they gave a warning. And then they get a big pop as they head out. Ross knows it's their first SummerSlam match. It's Wembley in '92. We get a stare down, a quick slugfest. Hank bails out, but Hawk follows with a clothesline off the apron. Animal knocks Phineas outside. The Godwins scuffle and regroup. We reset with Animal and Phineas. Phineas dodges a charge, lands a boot, and tags Hank. Animal floats out of a double team, back suplex, hits a double clothesline to clear the ring again. Hawk drops down, clobbers Phineas, tags in, and feeds off the fans to restart. Hank is in. He hammers on Hawk. Vince says Hillbilly Jim is still officially manager of the Godwins, but they don't get along anymore. Like what paperwork that has to get processed? Like, what makes him still the fucking manager? It's so. Didn't they beat him up? I thought they beat him up.
Yeah.
So random. Hanky's pouring it on, snaps Hawk's neck across the top rope, retaliates, shoves Hank to the floor. Hank follows and shoots. Hawk follows and shoots Hank to the steps, chops away, heads back inside, hits a pair of leg drops, but Hank rallies, takes over, and tags Phineas, who's punching away. Hawk fights him off, tags Animal. We reset with Hank. Animal works the arm. Ross says Pillman and Marlena now on the superstar line. Phineas lands a kick from the apron. Hank drives Animal to the floor with a clothesline. Vince notes that Captain Lou Albano is front row and maybe scouting these teams. Like, when are we going to give this up? Like, Albano's not coming back to manage tag teams, just like Hillbilly Jim is no longer manager of the Godwins. We do see Lou barking at the camera. Hank knocks Animal off the apron to the railing. Back in. Hank gets 2 on a slam. Tags Phineas, who hooks a bear hug. King mocks the city names from Arkansas as Animal survives and breaks free from the hold, but Hank gets a tag, charges. Animal ducks and just kind of stumbles. The Godwins maintain control. Phineas is back, comes off the middle rope. Animal hits a clothesline, crawls and hot tag to Hawk, who hits a flurry on Hank. Hawk cleans up both Godwins with hard clotheslines, hits a neck breaker on Hank. That gets a pop to the neck. Phineas breaks up the pin. Animal throws him to the floor. LOD hit hard clotheslines on Hank in the corner. They load the Doomsday device, but Phineas makes a save. He gets knocked to the floor, so LOD just finished Hank with a spike pile driver, which I like that finish. I think it pays off the story. I get why they didn't want to do the fucking Doomsday device again on Hank. Probably don't need to go back to that well. You know, you could argue that spike pile driver is made more risky with the broken neck. I thought this was sneaky fun. There's a hard-hitting brawl, had some sloppiness, but it was a good Haas kind of sloppiness. I think it's on par with some of the rugged tag work we've seen in WCW, like that we like with the Steiners and Harlem Heat and those teams. Welcome change to the just 4 big dudes kicking the shit out of each other with a good finish. I went 3 stars. This feud has been unexpectedly one of the better parts of the summer '97, and glad to see they had like a good payoff to it.
Yeah, I got a few things related to this. First, I just thought of this, and I'm scared to actually bring this out in public and propose it. But do you think that if Honky Tonk Man could have been a little more vicious, he could have worked as the Godwin's manager? Because I actually think that might have worked a little bit, but I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like that. Yeah, Honky would have to ditch some of the
Like no
cheesy.
dancing, but just like wailing the guitar on
Yeah,
people, and
I
I
actually think
mean,
who they bring in ends up being okay, but like
yeah,
I don't know. I think they would have had to really eliminate the goofiness because the problem is the Godwins. They just came from like 2 years of being goofballs, so they really needed to be serious to get over as like heels. So then if you have Honky, juking out there with the guitar, like it may not be.
yeah, I mean, they're very like Moondogs, and that's right. That's like who they're evoking and the way they're acting. I agree with you on the WCW comparison because I think that's why this is like the last match was a little depressing. This was very encouraging
Mhm.
because like a year ago was the absolute pits and doldrums of the tag division.
I think what the
Now,
Godwins were like then.
yeah, and now you saw like in WCW they just had a lot of these like not going to be lighting up your match of the year spreadsheets, but very solid Hallsfield tag matches that really help fill out a show and give you something that like when you look at a show from top to bottom, it's like, oh, that was a good match too. So I went 3 stars here. I enjoyed this match a lot. The Road Warriors in contrast to Mr. Tiger Jeet Singh or somebody that I'm really liking them more historically right now than I've ever liked them. Watching like 85 and 87. And then this run, I have always thought of them as kind of too one-dimensional, and I think that holds true, but I thought, like, in this match, they stayed in their lane when they needed to for the power, and the sloppiness kinda added to it in, like, a Steiner's type of way, but also there was a little bit of psychology here with the neck work, which was, uh I thought inviting. I was surprised by it with Phineas going after the neck, especially when Hawk was in the ring.
Mhm.
He does that like Hagman's neck breaker submission, which actually looks really good, and it is able. They did a good job at the very beginning of this match with the stare down and having the camera pan in, so you saw like the Godwins are taller and bigger
Yeah,
than the Legion of Doom. So that was a very good camera angle to say, like, I mean, these are big guys that are bigger than other big guys. So I thought just from an aesthetic, and it really felt like a tag match you don't get a whole lot of, honestly, in
felt
WWL.
very
So
Steiner's
I
Fire
enjoyed
and
it.
Ice
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
I think OD doesn't get enough credit for what they did for '97. Like, kind of one of the earliest people to kind of jump over and show up, and I do think they had credibility to like a roster that really needed it early '97, and have been pretty solid throughout. So we'll see when
yeah.
I know the wheels come off pretty fast, but um, Ryan thinks Gorilla must have a list of the licensed managers, so perhaps Hillbilly is ever officially removed. Maybe. All right, so here we go. Vince, Ross, and King regroup. And we get clips of the SummerSlam giveaway contestants. Ryan Shattuck and Patrick Stevenson arriving with their families earlier. We even get a local newspaper article highlighting Patrick's big chance tonight. We head back to the podium. Todd is with Patrick, Ryan, Sable, and Sonny for the big contest. Patrick and Ryan have on terrible red
Oh yeah,
Discovery Zone shirts, just super gaudy. Sonny though is like all over Ryan, like canoodling, cuddling. Like, I mean, she is like all up in his shit. So he already won. Todd starts with Ryan. He gets a pot from being a local boy from New York, says he has a special number picked out. Ryan grabs the key. Todd welcomes in Patrick and says he looks like Stone Cold. And Patrick like mumbles, like that's what the look is supposed to be, but he's had it for more than just a event. Like it was real awkward. Like you can tell this guy doesn't do stuff like this a lot. Obviously, he's just like, oh well, yeah, I always have this haircut. Like it
yeah.
was very very awkward.
He probably had been like tormented
Oh yeah,
continuously for losing his hair, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, it's
that's
kind of
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Patrick grabs key 13, and King basically calls him an idiot and makes fun of his ears. Todd says we're going to have 2 calling contestants.
Yeah.
He brings Sonny over for the first one, and here we go. So the phone rings with no answer. Todd clearly checks out Sonny's cleavage while she's next to him. They hang out and they flirt. They call the next number. The number's out of order. Vince is cackling, but you know he's fucking raging. Todd says they're going to keep going. Sonny holds the phone list right in front of her tits. So Todd is like looking right at them. They finally get an answer from Michael, but he's not watching the show. But then he saves it. He says, "My cable company doesn't carry it."
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a good save. That was a good save.
I wanted to vouch that.
Yeah.
Michael has YouTube TV, I guess.
Like, who's going to prove that you're not watching? Oh, yeah, I'm watching.
Yeah, I mean, he's honest, I guess. But yeah, Todd's like, "Are you watching?"
Well, Todd's like, regardless, you're eligible, and he's in shock. So he picks key number 33, but it fails. So Michael's done. King and Ross say that Michael actually won a consolation prize, a $5,000 savings bond. Todd didn't say it, so they have to cover for him. Todd then brings Sable over, and their next call is to Rebecca Cohen from Manchester, Missouri. She is very excited. She picks key number 14. Sable tries, but that fails. Todd tells her about the savings bond, so someone smartened him up. Ryan steps up, but his key fails as well. King says his life is ruined, but he does get a hug from Sable. Todd says Ryan may not know it yet, but that hug was better than the money, which I get the joke. He's like Ryan's like a little kid or whatever, teenager, but obviously $1 million is worth much more than a hug from Sable.
A hug from Sable.
Patrick is up last, and his key fails. So we spent a lot of time in this contest for nobody to win. Sonny gives Patrick a cuddle. Norm the accountant is here to prove that this is valid. And key number 3 was the big winner. Yeah. Sable opens a casket, shows that we're on the up and up. There's the $1 million. And this is like, it was fun. Like Todd, you know, what goes out with a bang with this. Like, if this is it for him checking out Sonny's tits while reading names. Think of how far he's come from In Your House 1 with Stephanie Wyan. This is much better. But it is a lot of time on pay-per-view. Like, we already had Christine Todd Whitman. The live crowd was into it, but I would have done this on Raw. I think I would have saved this for Raw. Wow. Unless your argument is like Raw's got more viewers and you need to hustle because of Nitro, then I could see the argument. The other option would have been to pre-tape this and just air it as like a video package, which you could have done. But I mean, it does move. Like, it doesn't drag on too long. It's been a lot between Whitman and this, like, with only 3 matches so far.
Yeah. To me, this just, I don't know, like, they should have had some other tiering, because you go from like a chant. I mean, first off, the contest, it says like you can win $1 million, and I guess I know what that is, but I mean, this is in the era of what they call it, where they knocked on the door with the big check. Yeah, I can't think of that. But you know, people are actually winning, you know, decent money. So you end up with this contest. It looked like there was like 99 keys or 100 keys numbered. So between all 4 of them, they basically had a 4% chance of giving away this $1 million. And then the backup plan was $5,000. Like, that's a big difference.
Bond, savings bond.
Yeah,
not even with cash.
Right. So it looks like the 2 guys, I mean, I guess they got flown out to the show or whatever, so that's something at least, but I don't know. It just seemed lame. I did think that, like, Sable, this is probably the most charismatic she's looked, because she was like joking and playing for the camera and giving the kid a hug when his key didn't work. So that was encouraging. I think on her front that this was, she looked more natural here than like when they've been trotting her out doing like wearing t-shirts or whatever overall. But yeah,
it's clear that like Sonny is like the most charismatic person out there. Like, it's not even close. Like,
but I thought this was her best performance, Sable's.
And Todd, he's good at this shit. So like, it was good to have him do it.
Yeah, I do think this drug on a little too long. Like I said, I think if you could have tiered it to where like, hey, you know, or something like, just something within the contest itself, because like they made it sound like it was going to be a mystery, or like, you know, if you could have had like and we're going to bring you to the show, and you had to have this code word, and we're going to see who had the correct code word or the correct answer to the riddle, and that person, wins guaranteed something. I think 50,000, 100. I mean, they could have gave away something like that, $50,000, and then you get a chance at $1 million or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a whimper seeing them put like 4 keys into this casket and nothing happening. So
Number 3, that was the one to go with. I'll give them
Rhymes
credit
with
though.
key.
They didn't actually pick like a random, like 3 is like a pickable number. Like you thought maybe they go with like 47 or like something like who the fuck is going to pick it, right? But 3 is like that could have easily been chosen. So.
Well, honestly, I'm guessing, that since there was, I'm sure this had to be audited and the CPA was right there, norm. So the number would have been randomly generated if it was on the up and up. So the random generator helped that it picked 3.
Everett says he was always jealous of this other 11-year-old Ryan. And Grudy wonders if DirecTV was on strike. Maybe that's why they didn't get to see it.
I don't know. I just feel like if it was some like that big, like you would have heard the police.
Yeah, they would have been complaining about it. I think he was a saving face for not watching the fucking show.
I agree.
All right, we get clips from last Monday of the Ken Shamrock British Bulldog arm wrestling brawl. That leads us to our next match for the European title. Ken Shamrock taking on the British Bulldog. Bulldog's out with the UK flag, his European title. A rare pay-per-view defense. Is it first for the European title?
Well, I don't even know, is this officially a defense? Because, before this, they give the graphic for the one night only match.
I'm pretty sure it is for the European. I think
okay. Because I thought that was interesting that they already, had Bulldog versus
Shawn. I don't think they even said, if he retains. I thought, I could be wrong, but I thought it was. Actually, I got the Wikipedia right here. Hang on. Okay. They have it as European title.
Okay.
I remembered it as being for it. We see the can of dog food, and then Ross does talk about a very special United Kingdom only pay-per-view, one night only, on September 20th, and it will be British Bulldog and Shawn Michaels for the European title. It's interesting, too, they announced it here because, I guess you have Shawn feuding with the Hart Foundation, but, it just becomes that match becomes so different within a week, of the show airing, so. And then what you initially were thinking.
It is Shawn versus the Hart Foundation, but him and Bulldog haven't had really any interaction.
Right. So you're just thinking, face Shawn is going to take on Bulldog. You're not realizing where the fuck that's headed.
Right.
The chaos that's about to come. Shamrock powers out to a pop. He rolls right into a slugfest. He snaps off a belly to belly. Bulldog bails out, but Shamrock follows, hammers away, throws him to the post, the steps, stomps on him, shoves Bulldog back inside, goes to a leg lace. Bulldog gets the rope. Ken levels a clothesline for 2, follows with some punches. Bulldog rallies with a lariat, slugs him to the mat, gets a delayed vertical for 2, goes to a chin lock. Shamrock elbows out, but Bulldog goes right back to it. Ross is hyping one night only. Shamrock breaks free again, gets 2 on a sunset flip. Bulldog's back up with a quick clothesline, a chin lock once more. Bulldog lays in some punches, some headbutts, gets 2 on an inside cradle, goes back to the chin lock. Shamrock's bleeding from the lip as Bulldog throws him shoulder first to the post. Shamrock flops to the floor. Bulldog follows, throws him to the steps, but Ken rallies with strikes. Bulldog goes low, knocks him back outside, back in the ring. Bulldog hammers away, back to the chin lock. Shamrock breaks free. Bulldog knocks him back to the floor, takes a handful of the dog food, and slaps Shamrock across the face with it. Shamrock snaps. He starts to beat on Bulldog, smashes him in the head with the dog food can, and that's a disqualification. Back in the ring, Shamrock throws down the ref, kicks the shit out of Bulldog, takes him into a rear naked choke, and refuses to release. Bulldog passes out. He's turning purple. Officials finally pull him off, but Shamrock lays waste to all the agents and the refs with belly to bellies and a big pop. And this was kind of interesting because it almost felt like a double turn. It felt like a poor man's version of WrestleMania 13 with Bulldog passing out and Shamrock kicking the shit out of all the refs. Like if you were saying Shamrock was turning heel off of this and they're trying to make Bulldog look like a hero, it would have felt like it. Obviously, we know that's not the case. I thought the match itself was disappointing. Bulldog takes a lot of the offense, but it's all shin locks. And the finish was lame. So it kind of pays off the stip, but not really. Hopefully better stuff ahead for these guys. On paper, I remember being really pumped for this match. And Bulldog's had a really good 97. So this was disappointing to see that he couldn't get more than this out of Shamrock. I thought the post match was great, though. That kind of picked it back up. So 2.5 stars in the match. And I was definitely disappointed in this one.
Yeah, in the confines of the feud, they definitely go, I'd say, more story heavy here for a match. So I went 2.5 too. It's quick. It does have some good energy at points, but also has some slow points, as you mentioned. And The dog food stuff, as I mentioned, like it makes sense because it's it's the British Bulldog, but this to me is the one step that I thought even like the kiss my ass. I mean, I talked about that. I think with the steps, like I think from one hand it's good to make them like each match unique, but I do think like we're getting a little like Memphis and a little too
They should have just done
horny.
if Team America wins, Sean is the ref. And if Team Canada wins more matches on the other card, Sean is not the ref. Like you could have done that or make it no DQ, something like to affect the main event because they end up going what 2-1 America. So it is perfect. So it's like there's 3 matches, and you're gonna say however it goes, that'll determine, what the stipulation for the main event or whatever.
I like that. It just seems like I mean this gets out of hand at the end with Shamrock snapping, which is really one of the first times we've seen him go full like ham. And it's just weird that like it's within the confines of like this bulldog eats dog food gimmick.
Right.
So but I mean Shamrock himself, like he's as we talked about now, he's kind of a workhorse for the next year and a half where he's on all these shows. It's not a rarity to see him wrestle now. So yeah, I mean it probably could have been a good match if they would have positioned it that way. They just didn't really position it that way.
This is like one of his worst pay-per-view matches.
Who's
like
Shamrock?
Yeah,
it might be.
I'd have to look. I mean, I know he's got some stuff with like him a boss man of the team. That's probably rough, but singles wise, it may be his worst. We'll see. All right, Todd is with Shawn Michaels and asked if he would put his career on the line to get even with Bret. Shawn has said many times there's nothing between him and that man. Whatever there was settled at WrestleMania 12 when he beat him. He's here to be an impartial, unbiased, fair referee, and nothing will get past his keen eye. Vince, Ross, and King seem dubious of the statement, and we see there's dog food all over their announce table, which is kind of a gross way to have to call the show.
Yeah.
Ross says Shamrock needs to figure out emotional control or his career will be very short. Vince reminds us of a new commissioner to be revealed on Raw. We get our Gang Wars video package. And before we get to the next match, any comments on those 2 segments? Are you good?
No, yeah. I mean, I thought the promo by Shawn was good, but just really set up the main event. So,
and it's an interesting one because our Gang Wars roll on, and that is Los Boricuas taking on the Disciples of Apocalypse. The Boricuas head to the ring. They greet Tito Santana and Carlos Cabrera at the Spanish announce table. DOA is out on their bikes. Ross talks about his days that the dude drop in. They would end in bar fights all the time. DOA rush the ring and all 8 briefly brawl until the Boricuas bail out. We settle into Jose and Skull. Battling Skull lands hard strikes. Jose gets a boot up on a charge. It's a clothesline. Skull pops up, kicks down Jose, hip tosses Savio out of the ring when he tries to help. 8-ball tags in, hits the sidewalk slam, tags Crush for a double back elbow. Crush drops a leg. Perez comes in, drops a leg to take over. Perez lays in some punches, runs into a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Both men tag. Chains comes in hot. Cuts through Jesus and the DOA quick tag and Barry strikes and double teams. Savio sneaks in, cracks 8-ball, the spin kick. The Boricuas take over. They're quick tagging. They're ganging up in the corner. Miguel hits a clothesline. The Boricuas gang up on 8-ball, rallies with a lariat. We start to hear the crowd rumbling, and that's because the Nation of Domination is coming through the fans to ringside. Jesus hits a scissors kick as Ahmed Johnson barks at Savio from the floor, picks up the mat from the floor. The Boricuas keep putting numbers on 8-ball, keeping him trapped. Savio chops an 8-ball, goes to an unneeded chinlock. There's no reason after that Bulldog match to go to a fucking chinlock. You have 8 guys in the ring, 4 around the ring. Like, no reason for a chinlock here.
Yeah.
Boricuas keep pummeling 8-ball. They bait DOA in to work as a team. Get a Miguel missile drop kick. Jose tries to chinlock, but Skull breaks it up. 8-ball gets some offense. He gets trapped in the corner, beats him down some more. Savio misses a charge in the corner. Chains gets the hot tag, cleans house. All 8 men brawl around the ring until Chains gets tossed outside. He lands a huge punch on Ahmed. Ahmed snaps. He hits a Pro River plunge on Chains on the floor. Savio then shoves Chains in the ring. Miguel drops an elbow, and the Boricuas get the win. And then Nation and DOA brawl around ringside as the Boricuas escape. So my biggest issue here is like, it's just way too standard of a tag match. Like, this is supposed to be a street fight, a gang war. These teams fucking hate each other. Why are they waiting on the apron for tags? Like, this should have been a chaotic brawl all around ringside in the ring, all 8 men fighting out of control. And it would have been way more exciting to do that. Like, just have it be chaotic. Some of the classic teamwork was okay, but just made no sense. This really felt more like an appetizer, like for what they want the gang wars to be, like kind of ease into it. It's not really a solution to the feud. I will say Ahmed looks fucking terrifying, like in that nation gear, and like looks like a fucking maniac. If he can stay healthy, like again, it could be another chance for him to do something. It's good to have Nation out there, like you should have them on the show. You don't want to go 2 years in a row with Ahmed and Farouk left off SummerSlam because of injuries. And the crowd was into it. 2 1/4, and it felt like the first time to me too. We haven't had any hints of Taker and DOA being linked. So I'm curious to see if that's faded now, because it feels like we had it still with the flag match a couple weeks ago, but there's like nothing at all here for these guys. So we'll see if that's it.
Yeah, I went to. I thought it was a pretty generic Raw tag match that was basic. Some decent strikes, too many rest holds. The agenting critique of this show definitely is the headlocks, for especially this match and the previous match. And then with how they that's, you got to talk to each other throughout the show, because like a chin lock spot actually plays a very pivotal role in the Intercontinental title match coming up, and it's done very effectively there. So that only emphasizes how much rest holdy and ineffective the previous two were. I did think that the crowd was pretty low overall, except when the Nation came out. And I thought with the Nation coming down, they looked very imposing. Like, it is what it is. But like, even before they get the member they're about to get, like, this is a pretty decent looking unit. I think they have the Barricas win here just because this is kind of like your China helps Triple H win. Like, the Barricas have been they've been getting beat up, to be honest, like throughout this feud. So it's basically like, oh, I'll give them the win, they can escape, and then the big brawls between the DOA and the Nation. So we know we still got a long way to go on this. So this was just like a chapter in the feud. And it is what it is. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like complete wrestle crap, them in the ring, but it's certainly not inspiring to me. So it's just kind of there.
No, the Nation definitely feel like they're cut above. And why wouldn't they? Like, Farouk was in world title matches or this year. Ahmed was supposed to be. Like, they feel like they're above this, in a way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. DOA, I feel like they've been the most over so far since debuting. And it seemed like, this is like kind of the least they get some love here. So,
yeah, it really feels like you'd have had like a Farouk and Ahmed tag versus the Legion of Doom or something like that.
Yeah.
At some point. Yeah.
All right, we got a hype package for our IC title match, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on Owen Hart. Owen is out solo. He's got his IC belt, his Slammies. Big spot for him in the second biggest show of the year. They've transitioned Austin to him off of Bret, which is a pretty big deal. Michael Cole tries to talk with Austin backstage. Austin shoves him away, refuses to answer anything. Vince says Cole is a little overzealous. I guess he doesn't know Austin that well. The glass breaks. Out he comes to a big pop, stalks to the ring, hits the corner, flips off Owen. Austin crosses the ring, but Owen attacks his knee, gets to work stomping on it before the bell. Owen bangs Austin's knee up the post. Austin comes slugging out of the corner, gets a Thez press to a flurry. Austin shoots Owen hard to the corner, spikes him by his hair, chokes away, mows down Owen with a clothesline for 2, works the arm. The crowd is loud behind him. Austin cuts off a comeback, goes to the eye, grinds right back to the arm. Owen finally turns the tide with a leg lariat, knocks Austin to the floor. Austin pulls Owen down, but Owen leverages Austin to the ring post, smashes his hand across the steps, stomps on it. Back of the ring, Owen claws, bites, wrenches at the hand, trying to snap his fingers. Owen traps Austin in the rope, stomps away, cranking on the fingers again. Owen charges Austin, breaks free, hits a big stun gun, counters Arana with a powerbomb. Austin drives him outside the clothesline. Owen takes a walk, but Austin chases him down, clobbers him from behind, drags him back into the ring. Owen avoids a charge, throws Austin with a nice belly-to-belly, follows with a swinging neck breaker and a leg drop for 2, gets another near fall on a middle rope elbow, goes to a neck vice. Austin breaks free, tries for a sharpshooter. Owen kicks out, nails Austin with a hard clothesline, drops another leg on the neck for 2. Owen hits a cross body block, but Austin rolls through. He gets 2 on that. Owen pops up and snaps off a bridging German for a near fall. Owen goes to a camel clutch. Austin breaks free, slugs away, but drops his head on a whip, and Owen gets a DDT for a 2. Owen goes to a chin lock. Austin breaks out and grabs a sleeper. Owen twists into his own sleeper, but Austin breaks out with a jawbreaker. Owen recovers, goes to another heavy chin lock, laying on Austin's back on the mat. Austin hangs on. He rallies after Owen is bickering with the ref. Owen counters a backbreaker to an inverted pile driver. Austin isn't moving off of that. So, of course, Owen paces around the ring. King is begging him to cover. Owen just starts yelling at the announcers how Austin's going to kiss his ass. Vince, I think is realizing how grave this is now. He's like, Austin is hurt. Ross thinks maybe he has a stinger because his legs are moving. Owen is trying to stall for time. He turns and plays to the crowd, and Austin rolls over and crawls and gets the weakest roll up of all time. Brutal. Great match. It was humming at a fun pace. Some different work, the arm, the fingers, the neck. The crowd was rocking, and it was lining up for a red hot finish before the injury, which just kills it. And it just looks so weak. Due to the stip, Austin had to win, right? Because if that we didn't have that stip, you could have had Owen probably just win and get the belt onto Austin later. Like, it wouldn't have mattered as much. But the buzz was completely killed. Vince sounds shook. This match was headed and still close to that SummerSlam IC title match classics, like Pantheon, like Rude and Warrior, Bret and Bulldog, Bret and Perfect. Like, this was like hitting there. And it was great. Austin takes the gold. I went 4 stars. This is also, of course, the end of old classic Steve Austin, right? From here on out, becomes a brawler, becomes a fighter. He will dial back some of that grappling later in 2001, but it's not quite the same. Like, it's even that is more strong style grappling versus like this is like kind of true Austin is like just a mat worker, right? That we just lose after this injury. We're not going to beat the what ifs to death. We've done a million times on every podcast. But it's a big game changer for them in both ways. Like, it kills the buzz tonight. I remember watching this and just aghast at the finish and like, fuck, he's like done. Like, he might be done forever. That's what it felt like. And that's going to be a major blow to the company. Like, they were banking on this fucking guy to be the guy for them. And now he's gone, maybe. On the flip side, as we'll see, it almost ends up enhancing him in many ways as well. Like, would he have gotten us over if we don't get what we get while they're trying to kill time for him to recover? So we'll track it as we go. But it's obviously a very iconic moment, unforgettable moment. And every time you watch that pile drive, you're like, man, lift him up a little bit, please, Owen, please.
Yeah, so I go 4 stars on this match. I really think with the way things were trending and towards the hot finish, which it probably only had like a couple more minutes left, but I think with a couple more minutes of smartly timed together near falls and whatnot, I mean, this, the best match in company history happened this year, so it's not going to beat that. Hell in the Cell's coming up, so it's not going to beat that. But I mean, for me, like, this match is really in my wheelhouse. It could be trending towards like my 3rd favorite match in WWF in calendar year '97 with the way they're working it, because I think this is a perfect like Swiss Army knife match that has a lot of brawling aspects, has some really nice arm and finger work that felt unique and gritty and different, that you just don't see, period. Like, you see very little like joint manipulation or handwork done, especially in WWF. I think we got a little bit of that with Foley Shawn in the prior year, and that match, was obviously memorable too. But this match has that brawling, some of those brawling aspects, has some of that unique arm work and limb work and stuff like that. And then
no Hart interference of bullshit either. It's all one-on-one, which was the trend all night, which is interesting, that because the whole build has been the Hart Foundation acting like a gang constantly and all night. It's almost like the NWO stuff we talked about, where pay-per-view feels different than TV. Like, why suddenly are the Harts not all helping each other out,
Yeah, and I think
I guess Bulldog's unconscious.
Well, and I think too, like, this felt very Jim Crockett Promotions, and that's to me the biggest change with Austin after this is every once in a while he still kind of work that NWA United States title style, and you just don't get that here. And this is very similar of what would happen with the Four Horsemen in the '80s, where like everybody had their match and they went out there, and JJ may be at ringside, but that's it. Like, they're kind of on their own for the most part when they have their match, and it builds up. So yeah, it's just, I mean, the finish is just a bummer, but I don't know. I mean, what can you do? Like, it happened, and they improvised with what they could do. And I guess considering his neck was broke, it was something for him to just even crawl over and do what he did.
The only thing I think maybe they could have done is send like Pillman out and have him attack Austin, or Owen use a chair and just have Austin win by DQ. So you don't have to do the kiss my ass thing. And again, you just keep the belt on Owen. And then if Austin's okay, he wins the next night on Raw. I know it's a lot to think about in the moment, but it just makes it look it's like so fucking fake. Like there's no way Owen's not kicking out of that fucking Raw.
Yeah, you can't. It's one of those matches where like you have like everything builds. It's building to a great crescendo. Because that's also what I want to say. Like, with Owen, you think of a lot of like high like impact moves and high flying, like when he's at his best. And for the most part of this match, you don't really get that. And then at the very end, you do, like with the German suplex and stuff like that. But then it breaks down with like that tight, like it almost gets shoot style, I would say, with its headlock and those reversals. So I thought this was just like, Owen's someone we've talked about throughout this podcast that I'm probably historically lower on than most people. I think this in many ways is his second finest match of his career behind the Bret Owen Mania 10 match. I just think like Owen and obviously like he broke somebody's neck, so that's a weird thing to like kind of compliment, but the way he mixed in everything with this match and fed Austin, but also looked imposing of his own and didn't really rely on what I think he relied on too much in other matches of his like coward tendencies and like begging off and stuff like that. You don't get a lot of that here. So he looks like that, like Tully Blanchard kind of, a heel champion
against Austin
that will like go toe to toe. So
it's good you mentioned like the Crockett thing, more WCW, because what I always think of this match is Austin and Steamboat. Like it feels like that out of that series in '94, like very similar. So Grooney asked if do we think Owen apologized. Nichols said it's been confirmed that he didn't. I believe it. I mean, I don't know why they'd lie about it. I'm sure he was embarrassed. I'm sure he probably didn't know what to say. Probably should have just fucking called him and said something, because Austin is upholding that grudge for a long time, right? And never really gets resolved. So
yeah, I mean, I think that grudge really never got resolved, and then you get what happens with the the Owen memorial, which I still have kind of sour grapes over too, like with the toast or whatever. It just feels
right.
Not on cue. I think Austin should have not been on that show,
right?
And should have taken.
And if he doesn't refuse to work with them, do they ever even do that? So it's another what if. But like
that too. I mean, that's part of it too. So there's a unfortunately this is the catalyst for a lot of. I mean, it like him breaking his neck could have been a life or death situation, but it also has that domino effect to what we know does result in a death situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, Grooney asked, will we compare this to Magnum's car accident, since both changed projectile? I don't think that's the word, but I don't know, because TA's career ends. Like Austin, I guess it changes that. But I think Austin was going to be a star no matter what. I don't know if gets as big right away as he does without the injury, honestly, but like, he was
I mean,
on his way.
Austin's the biggest baby face in the promotion. Like he's the bigger baby face than Taker at this point. So if he doesn't get injured here, they obviously had the finish for the main event set. So he's going to be, I think, presented as a top baby face, going forward from this point forward. I mean,
I guess the question is, does he not retire as soon? Because like, is his other neck issues only come about because of this injury, or do you already have wear and tear that was likely going to get there anyway? Because if not, if it's from this injury, that could be where it really changes things. Maybe he doesn't leave in 2000. Maybe he's here for a long time after that,
Right. I mean, on Magnum's side, though, like he was really lucky to be alive. So him walking, and obviously he never wrestled again. So that on Magnum's side, it completely, ended a career that he was destined to become a, NWA champ at the least. And who knows where that would have been, would he have been a Lex Luger style, like how far could he have been going? But he was so young. It's one of those weird things in history too, with like TA side that like he could have conceivably been around this era. I mean, it's only 10.5 years since Magnum had almost 11 years since he had his car wreck, and he was 26 or 27, I think, when he had
Definitely could
that.
have been
So,
around.
so
And he had the
yeah,
Vince look and build. I mean, he was definitely coming
yeah,
in at some point.
yeah. So
No doubt about it.
it's a very tragic. I mean, his also is a very tragic thing. I mean, luckily, it's not great like what happens to Austin, but it certainly could have been worse, like with that injury.
I mean, if he's done, it like completely alters their whole course. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
think
yeah,
how much changes. Brett probably doesn't leave because they need him.
yeah. If he's done, you
Yeah.
have to honor whatever with Brett and just
Yeah.
make it work.
Do we ever get
Yeah,
Mr. McMahon? Do we still get that against Brett instead of Austin? Like who knows
yeah,
where they go with it? Like,
right.
does Sean turn heel and Brett turn face? Like, I think that was possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So
This match and the next match, like with everything else going on, it's really like this is the in-ring episode that you know by force blurs the line between storyline and what's going on. But these two matches, as we talked about with this show and the magnitude of it, they really changed the projectile of the promotion as a whole, according to Gurney. Projectile.
projectile vomits everything. All right, main event time. We got our video package. Vince, Ross, and King fill some time. Talk about the main event. So I don't know if like they're short now because of the Austin injury, because they are filling. May's getting carried out of there. It definitely feels like they're killing time for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think maybe 4 or 5 more minutes, probably tops, just based on how they were.
Well, plus a
working,
celebration. Plus he probably was going to
yeah,
kiss his ass.
yeah,
Like whatever the fuck they were going to do. Like
you
that's
could have
all
had.
going on.
There was definitely some time filler here. Yeah,
Could have brought Whitman back out for another presentation.
try a couple more keys.
King says that Michaels will make sure he's the center of attention tonight. Ross says it's in the contract. If Bret Hart does not win the WWF title, it's his last match on U.S. soil. Brings us to our main event: Bret the Hitman Hart versus The Undertaker. You heard it there. Bret must win or he's exiled to Canada. The WWF title's on the line. Bret's out first. He's also solo. It's been a tough night for the Harts. They're 2-1, but the only win was Bulldog by DQ, and he's dead. Bret dedicates his match to his fans in Canada and around the world that feel like he does about the Americans. He requests a Canadian anthem. We get the whole thing. Michaels is out next to a pop. That's followed by Undertaker's usual chilly entrance, possibly his last as champion. Ross notes that Michaels has never been a referee before, and Vince thinks the hatred between him and Bret is so intense he cannot stay unbiased. Michaels gives the rules. He checks the wrestlers, holds up the title, plays by the book to start. Bret takes the belt from Shawn, smacks Taker with it, hammers away. Shawn gets between them so Taker can get his cape off. He calls for the bell. Bret hammers away. Taker grabs him, throws him to the corner, buries him with punches. Taker backs down Shawn, hits a hard clothesline. Bret bails outside, but Taker follows, bangs him off the railing into the post. Shawn warns Taker, which distracts him and allows Bret to move in as Taker bangs into the post. Bret shoots Taker into the steps and rolls inside. Bret heads out, but Taker catches him off the apron, throws him into the post. Michaels keeps threatening DQs. Taker picks up Bret, throws him into the post again, shoves him into the ring. Taker hammers away, hits a backbreaker, bends Bret across his knee, covers for 2. Vince confirms that Austin has been taken to the hospital for neck damage. He lost feeling in his hands. Taker batters Bret, locks in a bear hug and releases, tries a big elbow drop. Bret dodges it. Taker's up, he's slugging away. Bret ducks a big boot, attacks the knee to break the champ down in the corner. Bret starts to pick apart the knee with an aggressive attack, keeps Taker hobbled on the mat as much as possible. He twists into a figure 4. Paul Bearer waddles out and chuckles as Ross is not happy to see him. We get some talk about Kane. Vince wonders if he's coming tonight. Taker turns out of the figure 4, kicks out Bret's leg, and then heads to the floor and just slugs Paul Bearer. Bret comes out behind them and takes out Taker's leg and gets back to work. Bret hooks the ring post figure 4. Shawn forces that break. Bearer's gone now as Bret's working over the leg, but out come Owen Hart and Brian Pillman. And I do like that Bulldog is selling like that attack for Shamrock. Like he's not out here. It's just Owen and Pillman. They're bickering with Shawn while observing the match. That allows Bret to hit Taker's knee off the post. He gets into the face of some fans. Shawn gets in his face, tells him to get back in the ring. In the ring, Bret stomps in the leg, goes to a leg lace, but Taker slugs free, goes to the floor, takes out Pillman and Owen. Shawn comes out and runs them off, so they're gone. Taker goes back in the ring, sticks a choke slam, but Shawn is late coming back in after running off the Hart, so Taker throws him, pulls him up onto the apron and yells at him. Bret rolls up Taker. Shawn jumps in the ring and counts 2. Taker decks Bret with a clothesline. Back Shawn into the corner. He's pissed off. Bret rolls to the floor. Shawn warns Taker as he backs off. Bret pulls Taker to the floor, runs him into the edge of the ring, argues with Shawn, who wants the match back inside. We go there where Bret hits an axe off the middle rope, starts to target the back, hits a backbreaker for 2. King says Bret's done a better job ignoring Shawn than Taker has so far, and it's been paying off. Bret hits a suplex and elbow off the middle rope for 2, clubs away. Taker hoists Bret up, hot shots him across the top turnbuckle, gets a 2 count. Bret recovers with more strikes to the back, hits a side Russian leg sweep, a pair of leg drops, goes to the sharpshooter, but Taker blocks it with a choke, lands some knees of his own, but he eats a boot on a charge. He grabs Bret by the neck as Bret runs at him. Bret kicks Taker down, but Taker rallies with punches, hits a big flying clothesline, throws Bret hard to the corner for 2. Taker drills a big boot, drops another leg for 2, and then hoists Bret from the apron back into the ring with a chokeslam for 2. Taker scales the top rope. Bret kicks and crotches him, loads up a big top rope superplex, but Taker slips back. Bret keeps hold and pulls him back up and hits a superplex, and then turns it into a sharpshooter, but Taker powers out, drives Bret to the floor. Ross is like pumped that someone actually broke the sharpshooter, which may be the first time. I don't know if anyone had. I know Bret broke Owens at 10, but I don't know if anyone's broken Bret's yet. So that's a big moment. Bret gets back in the slugs in at Taker. Taker rallies with a punch. Taker hobbles to Bret, scoops him up for the tombstone. Bret slips down his back, drags him down, and hooks a ring post sharpshooter. Taker kicks Bret off. He barrels into Shawn, and they crumble to the floor. Shawn is slow to get up. He's hobbled on his knee, so Bret gets a chair, heads in the ring, and smacks Taker with it. Shawn slides in. We get a close near fall. That gets a pop. Bret's up, and he's arguing with Shawn. He kicks away in the corner. Shawn sees the chair and grabs it. He yells at Bret, pulling him off of Taker. Bret is pissed at Shawn for stopping his offense. He yells at him and then spits in his face, and that's finally enough for Shawn as he swings the chair, but the Hitman ducks, and Shawn pastes Undertaker across the face with the chair. Bret covers. Shawn stares at him with spit still coming out of his face and reluctantly counts the fall as we have a new World Wrestling Federation champion. Shawn quickly gets out of dodge. Taker stalks after him, and Bret stands tall while garbage fills into the ring. We get some replays. The Hart Foundation come out and celebrate, and Bret, the Canadian flag, close out the show. So a great main event. I mean, they had drama. They had storytelling. We had the Shawn angle. We had the Hart Foundation. We had Paul Bearer, who they kept brief, which I liked. You teased Kane, but this would have been 100% the wrong time to bring Kane out. We had enough going on. You had the stipulation hanging over Bret and Shawn the whole time. The in-ring work was good, focused, and executed well. They stayed away from the Rumble 96 lumbering bullshit. Bret worked his ass off to keep it moving. Taker was game. Shawn was perfect in his role. He was engaged. He wasn't overbearing. The finish was executed cleanly. Like, there was a chance that they botched that time, but they nail it. It's like, it's flawless. It adds more drama. We get some new directions. Like, you know, there were rumors, and we've talked about this at the time, that Shawn and Bret were refusing to work together, and they were going to put them together in the Hart Foundation. And there's enough hints here that me at 16 with my buddy Jim watching, we're thinking, oh, they're going to do it, because they have Shawn gets distracted by Pillman and Owen. He fucks Taker. You know, he gets mixed up a couple times. Taker's yelling at him, and then he counts the pin anyway. So it seemed like they could be heading to some sort of loose Bret-Shawn alliance maybe against Taker. Obviously, it doesn't go that way. Bret also does it on his own. They can pump that up. He didn't need the Hart Foundation. And I would say this is, to date, the best SummerSlam main event. I have it at 4.5. I think I have Bret Bullock at 4.25. I don't know off the top of my head if anything else is there. Obviously, going forward, we have ones that match or exceed. But for now, this is the cream of the crop for SummerSlam main events.
So I have a pretty long-standing, I'd say, love and hate relationship with this match. This is also a kind of notorious PWO match, I would say, because Will, like we mentioned, does not like this match much at all. And I'd been low on it, and then the last time I watched it, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, is when we watched all the SummerSlams and we were putting them into the spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. I know at that time I was really high on it. This watch I liked it. I ended up landing on 4. So I think it's a great match, but I do think I was lower than the last time. And I put most of that blame, almost all that blame, really at Taker's side, because I thought that the match is long and it's worked at a good pace, but I just thought they committed too much time to working over Taker's leg, that his selling was suspect in reflecting that. And I know he's the Undertaker, he's the dead man or whatever. But there's so much between the figure four wrapped around the post, the sharpshooter wrapped around the post, all the regular sharpshooter, all the other leg work that's invested in that he ends up doing more kind of like a days type selling. And I would just like, especially like when he fends off Pillman and Owen on the outside, like he has his leg worked over, and then he like does the thing where he like goes into the ropes, backs, down into the floor, lands on his feet, with no problem, and starts swinging at the Hart Foundation members. So that was a little off-putting to me, and ultimately, I think holds the match back a little bit again for being like at that match of the year candidate level. But as far as like a morality play and the way everything's worked, I think this is
it pays up the story perfect.
Yeah, so I think from a story perspective, whoever like agented and worked with this match hit like all the notes perfectly. Between like all the interludes with Bear coming out and Owen and Pillman coming out, that was all well done. Sean as a special guest referee is somebody I'm also very like hot and cold on. I think he's incredibly overbearing and grating in the Undertaker Triple H Hell in a Cell match at 28. So I'm very negative on him there, which a lot of people have in high esteem, but I think he's excellent here in his role. I think and especially I would say with where he's going with his character, like it's the perfect, like if this was still going to be cheerleader, main event babyface Sean going forward, I might have more of a problem with some of the stuff he does. But with the way the character's progressing and his trajectory going forward for his character arc, I think it's perfect the way he acts for this match. The chair shot, as you mentioned, is timed greatly, and that's usually a spot that's not timed very well with like somebody kind of inadvertently hitting somebody with a chair. It can usually look pretty bad. This one works well, and just overall, I think this match has a lot of cool moments. Like even from the beginning with like Taker when the lights come back on, and you hear the loud boom, and you got Bret like shivering a little bit. Like that's in Wrestling with Shadows and a very iconic moment. Overall, this is a very strong like Bret performance. Like maybe
his last great one.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to say that. I don't think it's that, but there's a lot. I think for what we know was really going on and everything that was happening and all the turmoil, and with the history of these guys too, which I don't think can be understated. Like they had, I mean, this is a 28-minute match. They had a 28-minute match that at Rumble 18 months ago that sucked. Like it was bad. So there wasn't a precedent here that this was going to be some great match, I think. So that I think there was a lot backed up against him. And again, like Bret, even historically, I'm certainly not as high as some of his biggest fans. I mean, this is I think another all-time performance. And you talk about that, like his 97, where like on the TV side, he may not necessarily have a lot of the meat on like week in, week out, having these really good TV matches. We've seen like him on pay-per-view. He is delivered like in spades every time.
I'm just thinking of the big matches he's had, like Rumble, he's
Final
big in
Four.
that. Final Four, Mania.
And then even like Revenge of the Taker, like that's a disappointing 4-star match or whatever with Stone
So great.
Cold.
I mean, so great. Stampede obviously is iconic.
Yeah.
Now this, like, his
So I
run
mean,
in January, and even if you want to go back to Survivor Series, like, from Austin to here is like unreal.
Yeah, he's definitely on a great streak with that, and so yeah, I mean, again, I think a great match. I think I think an all-time storyline. I think a great match. And so
that's fair.
4 stars for me.
And I believe, I know it's not been on hiatus for No Holds Barred, but on the Greatest WWE title change, I think we still have it as the best title change at this point. Did anything pass it? I'd have to look back, but it was up there, if not number one. Still.
Yeah.
It's pretty high. But we did all the different, obviously, categories on that. So
Right.
It's a great match, and they delivered. The show delivers for me. Like they hit what they had to hit. They couldn't get through without some tragedy with Austin. They almost got through the night. But I think they delivered on what they needed to deliver. Like you leave this show feeling good. You're thinking, all right, that was the best pay-per-view of the year, most likely, right? Depends how you feel about Stampede versus this, but like you feel good coming out of this. Like, okay, we're on track.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Stampede, like we'll get with our show grades, but I mean, I think Stampede's like historically, like for the sickos, it's seen as like better historically, but that's a 2-hour show. It's kind of like a niche show with 4 matches that were packed in. Like this was something that they from top to bottom, they just haven't had many pay-per-views like this that top to bottom have like there's I think one lull spot, but it's very quick and nothing's like outright bad, I would say, on the show.
No, when's the last time we had a long show like this where their worst match was like 2 1/4 or whatever it was, and that includes some rough guy like that Bariquas, DOA, Goldust.
Yeah, I mean that's not
like Godwin's.
It's a very smooth watching show too, which I think helps it, which is kind of surprising because it does have the $1 million thing, and it has the governor, and
even like campy,
but I feel like it moves along enough to where it's an easy like 1 set watch for me.
The giveaway was at least funny with Todd and Sonny. Like it wasn't boring. Whitman was the closest to being like boring on the night, but all right. So match of the night. I had the main event, but it sounds like do you have Austin Owen?
No, I do go the main event.
Okay.
So I have 3 matches at 4 stars flat, but I have the opener at 7.9 out of 10. I have Austin Owen at like 8.1 out of 10, and then I do have the main event at 8.2 out of 10.
Okay. For the moment, I went with the chair shot. I mean, to me, the spit, the chair shot, like that's what you think of with the show. Yeah, I mean, the Owen pile driver is obviously up there. But I don't know. I always think of the chair shot with the spit when I think of this show.
So I did go with the pile driver. I just think from I guess from a historical standpoint, that's the most memorable. So
yeah,
both are very memorable.
The chair shot definitely has that to it because it kicks off kind of the Taker next level. It kicks off DX Shawn comes off of this. So like it is a pretty big moment in its own right. Like
I think it's a very important moment from a storyline. I think the other, as we talked about, was more ramifications for real life. But yep.
MVP, I went Bret. I mean, I don't think there's any other choice on this.
Bret. Yep. I mean, Shawn, I honestly don't think it's like a horrible choice, but yeah.
No, he did good. But Bret, like you said, he carries that match. He's standing tall at the end.
You just know, like, I mean, from Wrestling with Shadows, like, regardless, and I know, like, oh God, like Bret can really test you, especially now in like modern day with how much of a whiner he is. But Jesus, I mean, like, he was going through it, and like, it's, like, just think, like, when you went through like tough times in your real life and then had to like go to work or perform and do stuff like that, like that is a strenuous, tough task to do.
Had to do 4 hours worth of podcast with Chris Colo, it's
right, very, very difficult to soldier through.
No shots fired, no debuts. No. I'm gonna put Anvil's goatee stipulation as a dropped angle.
Dropped angle, yeah, because when all the Hart Foundation and Bulldog does come out at the very end to celebrate, and Vince says like all the members of the Hart Foundation are out to celebrate. So
we have to look into that because I don't know if he got let go or if they did just keep him off because of the goatee. Because he doesn't come back. We might have looked this up in a previous. I don't remember, but he doesn't come back until right before Survivor Series. I don't think so. He's gone for a bit. So
right.
And then I'm going to put DOA and Taker. If we get proven wrong, we'll move it. But I don't know if from here on out they ever mention them again as kind of being.
Which seems right because when Bear does come out, Vince also mentions like if Kane is alive, is this the night we see him? But that gets pretty quickly
right.
Rest. Yeah.
All right. So I ended up going 8 out of 10. I think it's a great show. I can easily beat it at 9. You talked about the reasons why, right? It's a difference.
Yeah.
But if you take Stampede out of it, right? Like this is gonna be their best show in how long for us ever?
Well,
Well,
Yeah, I
Survivor
mean,
96, I had 8.5. So,
and so like I go 8.5 on this
or 8. I'm
show,
sorry.
and
Sorry, 96, I had 8.
okay, so I go 8.5 here. And I think to me, like the main thing is I don't know if there's another WWF pay-per-view up to this point that I have 3 matches at 4 stars.
Right.
Like, so I don't think this, like for me, that none of these matches are like at the top end, like, like WrestleMania 10, has obviously 2 4.5 and a 4 3/4 or whatever in my mind. And some of the other matches, some of the other shows seem to have 2, like WrestleMania 8 or something like that. But I don't know of another WWF pay-per-view that has 3 4-star plus matches for me. So um big accomplishment, I'd say, like up and down. And that's something
Right.
that has been a problem since we started this podcast. Is depth has been a problem. So here, short card, but a 7-match card and 3 4-star matches and add a 3-star tag match. So all that really helps their depth argument. So that to
4 out of
me
the 7
shows
delivered, and even the other 3 were like fine.
correct. So
and at least had memorable stuff in it. You got Ahmed with the pervert plunge, Bulldog with the dog food and getting choked out, Pillman having to wear the dress.
Yep.
Dog food. I went 8 on King of the Ring 96 as well. So besides Stampede, this is tied with Survivor Series 96 and King of the Ring 96 for me, all at 8, which I think that lines up. I think those are all kind of their biggest tentpole shows. So
yeah.
All right, so we didn't do our WCW pay-per-view yet, so no combo awards at this time. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a pretty big week of TV. Yeah. The August 4th, 97 Raw Nitro. It's the Go Home to Road Wild. It's the 100th anniversary of Nitro. If you know your shit, you know your shit. What's coming there. And then on Raw is a big night too, because we have an all-time Shawn promo coming.
New commissioner
being announced, and we'll see the direction to Ground Zero and the fallout from here. So we got a really big week of TV to cover. So our next few episodes, then we got Road Wild. So we got like 3 big ones coming.
Then the last Clash is looming too. So it's like this kind of to me really starts like another. We talk about these kind of like cool pockets of our shows, and this is another kind of like 5 or 6, week pocket or 5 or 6 show pocket. That's really neat.
Yep. And then before you know, we'll be building to Montreal and Starrcade, which is crazy. But all right, check out everything. North-South Connection. Appreciate you hanging out with us here tonight. Spread the word. Thank you to our fans that watched, our patrons, Jenny, Jeremy, Everett, Grooney, someone else in there. Farrell. Yep. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. We appreciate it. Join our free Patreon. Talked about that earlier in the show. Subscribe, YouTube, podcast apps, except for Spotify. They suck. Smell the napalm. Talk to you in 2 weeks as we continue our way through the war.